talked about sharing that experience of working with young people on the trail, right? Not so much the history, but the stories about actually working with kids on the trail. You remember those stories?
Two or three.
Yeah. Well, that would probably be good, and we just want to taste, a little taste from you.
I often wondered what I was doing out there on the trail, especially when I was about dead from thirst, had big blisters on my feet. I'd say, why am I doing this? I can make a living. My joints wearing out, and having experiences though that changed the lives of kids and me. I know that there's been a higher power involved in all of this too, and I've seen many examples where people reached out and grabbed hold of that for themselves, and it made all the difference in their lives. I remember one story. We had a young man in our program that was kind of belligerent and not doing as well as the other kids, and so we pulled him away and put him on solo, far away from all the others, and I just decided to watch him for 3 or 4 days. And he camped under a big cottonwood tree on the riverbank, and just sat there for a couple of days doing nothing. And finally he said that he just was so frustrated that he didn't know what to do. And so he got up one morning and was fixing his fire and everything, went away to get some more firewood. When he came back, the fire had moved over into a tree, that big tree, and had caught hold inside it. It was burning the big, just huge, beautiful tree up, and probably would start a fire, an arranged fire where he was at. He didn't know what to do. He grabbed his canteen and ran to the creek and gave water and come back and tried to sprinkle on it. It didn't do a bit of good. And he said suddenly he felt like he needed to pray. I thought, well, I'll do it. So he did. And he said, if there is a God, I want to know, if you help me put the fire out on this tree. He said, I don't want to kill this tree. And he said, within just a few moments, he noticed a big black cloud moving off in the west. It came right over the area that he was in and nowhere else. It covered the big area, but it was just right there. Come right over it and stopped and deluged and put the fire out. And then moved on. And he said, right then I knew that there was a God. And he says, let anybody ask me if I know there's a God, and I'll tell you there is. He went home, got his life in order, went on a mission, did some fantastic things. And I see that kind of thing happening year after year as I've run these programs for way over 30 years. And it just seems to me that every person that goes through that program has some impact for good in their life. I'm reminded of a story of some boys that came out from East. They were in gangs and had been stealing old cars, fixing them up and then driving them and selling them. And they all got caught. They were put on a bus and sent out to Colorado to a program out there that I happened to be working with that summer. And some of them were assigned to me to be cared for. They went back after the course, and everybody says, hey, these boys are doing really well now. Said, well, what is it? What are the signs of that? He says, well, now they're stealing new cars. So it's all the way through all of it. It can be really interesting. And so I go back to the question, why am I here? What am I doing? I could make a living a lot easier elsewhere, doing something, probably interesting, but still not as strenuous as this. And I can remember hiking all night and all day and all night and all day in rough country trying to get help for somebody that was having a problem. And it just totaled it all up, and it practically meant that we were living like Paiute Indians out there and having the energy that they had, which wasn't really great, but we got through everything. We were able to do everything. But later on I found out that they only lived to be about 30. And I realized that even the everyday things, fixing your food, taking care of yourself, and besides the hiking and the walking and dealing with the problems of young people, that what it does is it does wear you out. Now my old age, and to find out that it really did wear me out, fell off too many cliffs in my day. And it contributes to what I have to go through today. But I would not trade it for anything. It was a wonderful experience of being able to work with young people under trying conditions and holding on to an influence and a philosophy that actually brought results. It wasn't boot camp, wasn't yell in your face type therapy, wasn't anything like that. It was loving those kids and living like they had to live and suffering just as they did and experiencing with them, and that makes the difference for them too.
What's the importance of doing things the same way the kids are expected to do things?
Well, I remember going to a camp one time where the kids were given the lentils and beans, to eat, and flour, and the instructors had bacon and eggs and that kind of thing right in front of the kids. And as I looked at those kids eat and watched those other people eat, I knew that they had intense resentment because of that. Well, the instructors had a good excuse. They had to go do this every few weeks for years at a time, and they needed that nourishment. But that's beside the point. What they needed was to be in with those kids instead of having them hate them. And so I made it a real effort to be able to live out there as much primitively as I could, and then letting the kids experience that same experience with me, not assigning it to them, but letting them experience it because it's real. We went out there and we ate our food up in a day or two, and then we had to really scrounge. They were eating grasshoppers, ants, and all mice, trap mice and stuff, little wood rats and that kind of stuff. And living off that land. They were identifying edible wild plants that didn't taste as good as the ones they ate at home, but still it was food, and they would eat that and rejoice when it was good, spit it out for a few days when it wasn't so good, and later on taking it down anyway because they knew it good for them. But that was my reasoning on it, was we just had to live that life that they lived, be an example to them, show them that we could do it, gave them courage to do it. And that's what makes it work for them.
What was it like when you had students trapping rodents back in the old days?
Back in the old days, we used the Paiute deadfall mostly. I had reinvented that from a find that I'd made in a cave, found the trap setting from an ancient Paiute, and I studied that for several years before I finally figured out how it worked. And then started using it. It became the best trap I ever made. I love that Paiute deadfall. Mm-hmm. It's so hair triggered, so easy, and you could hold up a 10-pound rock with a single straw. And I was never in favor of the kind of slaughter operation that some programs perform, and the ceremony and everything that goes with it. When you butcher an animal and kill it for some reason and use it properly. I never could tolerate what I saw that was different than that, where they would butcher chickens and sheep and out of the trail as a kind of a ritual rather than an attempt to get them to learn how to do it themselves. Rather than that, I preferred to have an opportunity to have that animal there and to learn how to take care of it and honor it and kill it and eat it and see that you can partake of that whole spirit of it without any consequence of being called brutal or whatever by society.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that makes much sense, but I'm kind of losing it.
It makes sense to me. I think people that have experienced it know what you're talking about.
You could word that any way you
Oh
want.
yeah, yeah. I want to keep you on the Paiute for a minute though, because I think these specifics are really interesting.
Okay.
What parts of the Paiute did you find? Are they
Of the deadfall?
of the original, the archaeological find?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Let's see if I can picture it in my mind. Which one? The straw that goes from the trigger to the bait underneath the rock.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing there.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
I think I got this part. More or less down.
let's see. There was a string around the base of the trap. You know, I can't picture it.
Okay.
There were two pieces that were missing. One was that trigger, which was just a straw.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't recognize it anyway.
Was that the piece that was that was one of the pieces? So you had the string and you had the little.
It had the string and where the 2 points come together.
Mm-hmm.
Had a string around this one that was about so long with a little toggle in it.
Mm-hmm.
Had that much.
So you had that
It
string and
didn't have
toggle.
the upright.
Yeah. So you had the string and like the lever stick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't spend a whole lot of time trying to figure it out until years later. It was a good 15 years between the time I found it and I got it figured out. Then I got it into my next edition of my book, and it worked pretty well. I had almost 100% good luck with it. If the mouse went in there, he was gone.
Yeah. And what would you use for bait?
Well, if we were on the trail and had food rations, we would take a piece of cooked lentil or bean, or if they were lucky enough to have a treat in their packet, they might have peanut butter. And we found out the hard way that if you issue peanut butter for bait, they eat it.
Yeah.
But then we solved that. We were ready to quit doing that and figure out something else. But then we found out that if you just stir in a little bit of rabbit droppings in the peanut butter, your little bait cup, they're not going to eat that.
Yeah.
So they would use that. We liked the peanut butter because it really pulled them in, and they'd have better luck. But in the nature, I've used just a piece of boiled green, like clover or whatever we can find. Boil it up and squeeze it up and mix it with a little fat, and use that for bait. Actually, just plain fat works really good. Just smear the end of the stick with some melted fat off of a squirrel or whatever, and they'll go for that. But it's nice to have a little vegetable in there too, because they're vegetarian, but they do like the grease. And that would satisfy the needs for that.
The Primitivus project is made possible by the generous sponsorship of Wingate Wilderness Therapy. Wingate Wilderness Therapy is a premier wilderness therapy program for troubled teens and young adults that offers hope and healing. Designed for both troubled teens and young adults, Wingate offers two distinctly separate wilderness programs addressing the needs of two very different age groups. Wingate operates from the understanding that change comes from the inside out, not the outside in. To learn more about Wingate, visit wingatewilderness-therapy.com or call 1-800-560-1599. Please subscribe to this channel to ensure you don't miss any episodes of the project. New videos will be loaded every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Please like the videos and share them with your friends. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the trail.